Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. It's been an amazing day. I think it's so exciting to see so much innovation in this space that will benefit us all and will benefit the patients ultimately. See? Right, so you might be thinking, wait, Sientra is a breast company. Why is she presenting in the below the belt segment? So we're actually transforming ourselves into a full aesthetics company, and Viality is our first step towards that. As Carol well mentioned, liposuction's #1 procedure right now according to the latest data. But also, we all have fat in areas where we don't want it, but we all lose fat in the areas where we need it or we do want it. So when we were assessing into how do we grow into this full aesthetics company, we started with fat, and it's definitely a trending area. If you look at what the consumers are searching for, what the patients are searching for, they're trying to look at how do I use fat with current procedures? How do I use my own tissues? And how do I transform my full body by doing two things at the same time? It's really interesting. We talked a lot about regenerative medicine earlier today, right? And fat is full of stem cells. So the effect is not just the volume, but also what it gives you to give a better outcome. Not only it's very trending in media, it's also trending in research. So a lot of clinical papers, if you open an edition of ASJ or PRS, there's always several papers on the use of fat for volume, but also for other applications. Recently, a hand rejuvenation study, facial rejuvenation, regenerative properties, treatment of capsular contraction, scarring, radiation burns, you name it. So it's an area of increasing research and, of course, an area that brings incredible opportunity. However, when we started looking into it, we surveyed 100 plastic surgeons in the United States, and we asked them what's most important in fat transfer. Top 3, fat retention, minimal processing time, and higher cell viability. But when we asked them how satisfied were they with the current systems on the market, it was very surprising that less than 30% were satisfied with the retention and higher viability, which on average they estimated were between 40 and 50%, and less than 40% with processing time. So we said, definitely an area where we want to be, but we have to bring something better, something that solves for these issues. Nobody wants to have a lot of procedures to get the results that you want, and a plastic surgeon doesn't want to tell her patient, I don't know how many procedures you're going to need. You might end up retaining 50%, 60%, or 80%. So how do we prevent for that variability and offer predictability and consistency? And that's why we're so excited about Viality, what we call our enhanced viability fat transfer system, because that's exactly what it does. It provides higher cell viability that allows for higher cell retention, higher fat retention over time. Viality is backed by over 10 years of research at Mass General Harvard, where they looked at why fat does not retain. And they concluded that you needed two things. Very concentrated fat, so remove everything that's not adipose tissue that at the end the body will just absorb in a couple of weeks. And then ensure that the cells that you're injecting are alive. Because what they found is that many of the adipose cells are actually damaged during the liposuction, during the grafting process, and you're re-injecting cells that are in the process of dehydrating and ultimately dying. And therefore, they will get resorbed and you won't get the long-lasting retention that you want. All of that, minimal processing time, and with one system that can work for any area of the body you might be interested in. If you're going to do a BBL, you like very large volumes. If you're going to do the breast, I would say in the medium volume range, or even if you're going to do small volumes. So Viality does that in three simple steps. First of all, 2 connections, lipo in, waste out. So not a lot of assembly, not a lot of pieces, disposal device. You harvest the fat as little as 50 milliliters, as much as over 1,000, 1,050. So it gives you a lot of flexibility without having to crack open a device or use it again off-label or open 2 devices to complete a procedure. Then you wash it, and this is a key step because we said concentrating was very important. But we use a proprietary wash, which is called AuraCleanse out of P188, that has 2 purposes, and I'll talk about it in a little bit more. But it really helps clean the fat. We use the analogy of when you go and take a shower, do you use soap to really wash yourself, or do you just use water to rinse yourself? So we really want to clean the fat from everything that's not true fat in order to get what you want injected in the body. And then concentrate it. So research at Mass General showed that the TELFA technique, where you roll out and you put your fat and let it concentrate, works very well, but super inefficient. So the system includes a highly absorbent foam that actually absorbs that excess liquid, allowing to inject over 90% concentrated adipose cell. So one of the papers that came out of the studies at Mass General showed that a lot of the cell membranes actually had holes in them because those members were damaged during the process. So Oraclens, which is a P188 molecule, actually serves several purposes. It has a hydrophobic and a hydrophilic component, so it mimics the bilipid membrane, and it serves as a patch. So if a cell is damaged, the P188 binds to it, allows it to repair itself. But the beauty of it, and why it's not considered a drug by the FDA, the moment the membrane repairs itself, it's secreted intact through the urine. So it serves a momentary patching system to allow the cell to do what it needs to do in order to stay alive. On top of that, because it's a surfactant, it creates a micelle, and as you're washing the fat, it allows to remove everything that is not adipose tissue, like cellular debris, blood, free oils, and allows to wash it out better. So it helps concentrate the fat better, but it also allows for the cells to remain alive. Preclinical data showed that fat treated with P188 6 weeks later had over 80% viable cells versus only 30% when it was only washed with saline. On top of that, because it's soapy, it's a surfactant, it allows for very lubricious fat to be injected, even though it's very concentrated. Again, more in vitro data against Revolve, which is one of the market leaders in fat grafting, not only shows higher percentages of fat and higher cell viability, but what I like the most, a lot of predictability and consistency. Low standard deviations that tells you that what you're getting is very close to what you can expect to maintain. 12-month gluteal study, single-site independent, 10 patients just with the saline wash, 10 patients with the Oraclens wash, 71% average retention measured with 3D imaging with the Oraclens wash versus 40%, which is what typically you would expect with your saline wash. So very exciting data. Just to finish up, we also want to see how this translates in the breast. So we are running a one-of-a-kind, it's never been done before, multi-center long-term retention study where we have over 15 different surgeons with all types of patients, reconstruction patients, augmentation patients, mastopexies, explants, and we're seeing how that fat will hold or how that volume will retain. These are preliminary, we're enrolling up to 200 patients, preliminary data that we released a month ago when we launched the product, but we are super excited about what we're seeing because it's not only very high retention, you see over 80%, very consistent across the board, across many different surgeons and many different types of patients. So we're very excited about how will this translate when we have all of the patients and all of the long-term data. So we really believe that fat is on the trend of the regenerative medicine, but also into how do you do full body transformation, going beyond, as Carol was saying, not about what are the specific things that you need to focus on, but also how do you offer your patients something that will make them feel more comfortable across their body. Thank you very much.